Hello, Jim Dramatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. It is Heat G of Series 4, and I'm joined once again by Sam Elliott 64.
Can I go yet?
That's not that bad.
No, it's not. It's not. I actually really enjoy this seat. This seat's actually a really good one in terms of the classic series. So, well, for me at least, I quite enjoy it. So,
I like it, although I am disappointed by one particular robot. But well, actually,
is it Dreadnought?
yeah, it's Dreadnought.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
I'm sure we will. Don't worry. But yeah, we'll get straight on to the robots, of course. And of course, the Heat winner was the debut of this particular version of the robot. They appeared in Series 3, but with no real success. But now we have Thermidor 2, the Feast or the Famine. The Feast or the Famine, as we keep referring it to. But I mean, they did have a version in Series 3, but it was just literally just the claws, wasn't it? And the saw, and that was it wasn't really anything. But
it wasn't quite the same as Thermidor. Do you look at Thermidor 2 and you think, what an improvement this was? I know, obviously, Thermidor 2 had a big flipper, and obviously Thermidor 1 probably didn't have the technology to do that at the time. David Harding and Ian Harvey, if I could speak correctly, it'd be great. For two people that aren't related in the slightest, they have two very similar names. But it's a good machine, Thermidor 2, particularly in this era, because the weapon's very explosive, and for what it is, it was a decent machine. Unfortunately, obviously, kind of met its match in the semi-finals. But this robot, as well as in the later series, they were very unlucky in some series. Like there was some series where they had a good run, and then some series where they were very unlucky. I mean,
I'd say particularly their Series 5 run was very unlucky.
Because Prize Fighter, obviously had improved so much, and fair dues to Prize Fighter for beating them the way they did. And obviously Series 6, I mean, that melee, any one of the four could have won the heat. I mean, that heat in general was just absolute filth. If you ever see the lineup of I think it was Heat F of Series 6, you look at all the robots, and bar like one or two, you think, do you know what? Each of these could win this heat.
Yeah, you do get heats like that. I mean, obviously there was it can be the opposite effect. Like in Series 9, we had the spinner heat, where pretty much anyone can die, as opposed to. And I know nothing about it, but in Series 10, I've heard there's a particular heat that's also named the Heat of Death as well. So I don't know who's in it, but I'm very intrigued for Series 10 nonetheless. But Thermidor 2, I mean, they came back in Series 8 as well, and it kind of proved how much hadn't really improved since Series 7.
It was mostly, I think it was unchanged, except they put a bit more armor on, and they obviously changed out the old sealed lead acid batteries for lipos. Because obviously they're a lot smaller and lighter. But Thermidor 2 was mostly the same in Series 8, sorry. And apparently one of the dudes from Thermidor, I can't remember which one, but apparently they didn't know what Hardox was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that bodes well for them then.
Yeah.
I mean, they got
didn't get a plan.
I mean, in fairness, they got taken out, but I think was it Ironside 3? I think you're talking about, or was it Shunt?
Chompalot kind of crushed them a little bit and crushed their claws into place, but Ironside 3 wiped them out on their wheel.
Yeah, it was kind of bent up and smoking and not very good. But Thermidor 2, it just has its biggest problem is, while I think what stops me from loving Thermidor 2 as opposed to really like, I like it, but I think it's just the lack of reliability, I think, and the inconsistencies throughout the series.
I mean, it was inconsistent, sure, but I mean, let's face it, you got this it's a machine that's it doesn't take itself seriously, but it's a good fun machine.
Oh no, I don't doubt that. I'm just mean, like, I think just like in terms of all the big prominent robots a robot was in the classic series. It's always like, compared to something like Chaos 2 or something like that. It can never find its feet.
One thing I will say though is, you look at Robot Wars Extreme 1, and I think that was the series that Thermidor 2 kind of convinced a lot of people that it was a serious machine, because you look at that performance, there was no real, apart from the Annihilator. I think it won every other fight, didn't it? So
yeah, I mean, also they are the first robot, I believe, to flip out all of their opponents in their battle, which is pretty.
I think only one of the opponents. No, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so it was the only one to flip all of its opponents out the arena, but it wasn't the only one to flip out two opponents in one fight. The only other robot that did that was Tsunami, I believe.
Oh yeah, Tsunami did as well. Yeah.
But obviously, Exterminate was left in that fight.
Pretty much, you didn't have to do much really.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I do like Thermidor too, but I think at the same time, I guess what again, it doesn't. Maybe a lot of people don't. I guess don't treat it as highly in some respect. I guess because of the fact it was very inconsistent in which series he did really well in some series, and then next series it could lose in the first round, and there was no.
Yeah, but these things happen.
It's true. You can't really prevent everything. And then of course we have the runner-up, which probably goes in the category for best name of the series, in my opinion. Kronik the Wedgehog.
The Wedgehog. Yeah, Kronik the Wedgehog.
I mean, this particular version of Kronik, unlike every other version, which is a more definitive wedge, this is more boxy in design.
Well, it was their first machine, and I think they learned a lot of lessons from this machine. Like making your panel a bit stronger than the rest of your armor, otherwise it just shatters to death.
Yeah, and of course many people know this is the precursor to Apollo later on.
Yeah, Alan Young from Apollo, well, formerly of Apollo, he owns Kronik and but entered BattleBots Season 1.
Yeah.
He bought Kronik off Dave Lang and did a few bits to it, and today it runs as Apollo. Obviously, new Apollo that runs on the live circuit these days is nothing to do with this robot, so they kind of moved away from that. But it was a very successful machine. This machine in the future went very serious and kind of took off in a kind of really cool way. Really, it was nice to see a joke bot go from a joke bot to something very serious. And
actually, if you look at the most recent version of Kronik in the classic series in Series 7, you can see the Apollo shape sort of building.
Even as early as Series 5.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, looking at Series 4, you'd never guess it, obviously, but.
And I will say as well, every series they were so unlucky. You look at Series 5. Okay, King B got his spike stuck into the wheel hub of Kronik.
Series 6 was Terahertz that took him out.
Yeah, and they dominated their opening melee.
Yeah,
against Panic Attack. I mean, obviously Corkscrew killed itself. But,
the worst one was Series 7.
Oh, when it was dominating Mighty Mouse,
and then it just broke.
It just died. Yeah.
The classic case of the mouse just running away from everything.
Oh, I love Mighty Mouse.
I do, but
yeah, Kronik was always a machine that I liked. It's just that it was horrifically unlucky, really, and that's the end of it.
It's definitely a robot that could have been a semi-finalist in Series 7, considering how many robots like Atomic and Bulldog Breed finally got the chance to be in the semi-finals.
Even Series 5 or 6, it could have done it. I think it was just unlucky that it lost to very difficult opponents at every series.
Yeah, and actually, to its credit, even the Series 4 version, it was actually quite a good robot. It managed to last longer, considering the fact there was a lot of plastic on the robot. They were lucky they weren't hit the disc heat.
In fairness, they were the ones that really took out Gravedigger. They lifted them up and put them on the wall.
And they did take out Dark Destroyer, so that isn't.
Speaking of Dark Destroyer,
oh yes,
get on to that.
Dark Destroyer 2. I mean, actually, no, I'm not the biggest fan of the original Dark Destroyer, but at least it was very unique looking. You can never go, that's any other robot but Dark Destroyer. And while you could say the same thing about the Dark Destroyer 2, it's very odd looking.
It's a machine that I just genuinely have no cares about. I will say though, Dark Destroyer 2, as we mentioned previously, has the kind of pyramid head kind of thing going on with it. It looks, do you know what? It's not too bad. It's not too bad, but it was very fortunate to get through round 1. I think we can all agree that. Obviously, had Warhog been working properly, wouldn't have stood a chance. But
I mean, if Warhog was working properly, Dreadnought would have gone out. Let's face it.
Well, there'd have been nothing left in that first round, would there? But there you go.
I mean, obviously, we mentioned last time the little wagglers.
The best weapons in all of Robot Wars.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in my awards in the semi-final 2. It is definitely going to be contestant for worst weapon of the series because, come on, they're waggling blades that barely move outside the robot.
They are amazing. The wagglers are.
They're hilarious, but and also it's just again compared to the original.
So deadly, so powerful. Watch out, everyone.
It's weird, compared to the original, because the original was relatively small. It was very kind of compact, with a very small the head bit at the front with the wheel and the little triangular body, and that's basically all it was with the spinner. But then they seemed to go on the opposite and made the biggest robot possible.
Yeah.
Without really
Yeah.
improving on it at all. They've actually made it worse.
And the one-wheel drive, which is really odd.
It's odd. It surprisingly worked, which I'm actually quite surprised it worked as well as it did, but it seems weird that they've actually added so much shit onto it and somehow made it even more pointless than the original was. I mean, can we forget the one in Series 3, its blade was so rubbish it could bend into itself, so it couldn't actually... So all the blades...
It kind of untwisted, didn't it?
No, it was basically made out of two separate blades, and they could slide around as much as they wanted, so... Sounds like, like helicopter toys you get when you're younger.
Yeah, that's true.
But we never see them again, they never apply again, so I guess they couldn't think of an even weirder way of making sideburns deadly.
The Dark Destroyer 3.
Imagine that would have looked like.
Make it happen, ladies and gentlemen.
It's just one giant pyramid.
Yeah, it's just a big giant box. It's great.
And we also mentioned Dreadnought before, and Dreadnought XP1.
Experimental Prototype 1.
Yeah, again, even if it stands for something, they're just adding letters and numbers to make it sound cooler than it pretty much really it's. I mean, honestly, seriously, I mean, apart from maybe obviously the Eternals might have changed, but what is the difference aesthetically between Series 3 and Series 4? I can't really see much. I can't see. I mean, I think. Actually, I just noticed a difference looking at the picture. The word Dreadnought is written on the side in Series 4. It wasn't in Series 3.
That's something.
In case you forgot which robot it was. But did the forks ever move in Series 3 or 4?
I think they did. I think it's just they were pretty useless, really.
I think the thing about Dreadnought, though, was, I mean, I don't hate Dreadnought at all. I'm not sat there going, "Oh, it's the worst thing ever." I think the reason why I've never really been fond of it at any point was because I think it just never seemed to ever improve itself. Like, I mean, looking at Series 4, it still has a wooden base, polycarbonate armor. I mean, it was the only robot that Matilda did any damage to this series. That kind of shows you.
Dreadnought I have a soft spot for because I think, let's face it, it's one of the very originals. I think they were a fantastic team.
The team is great.
Yeah, and I think they were. It was a good machine, and I do enjoy Dreadnought for what it is. I think they're a good sport. I think they enjoyed watching Dreadnought getting beat up. I think they said this was going to be the last series for them anyway, and then they were going to build a new machine. Obviously, I don't know whether that actually happened or not. I don't know. And obviously, these days, Dreadnought is in the hands of another great team in Chomp-A-Lot. Team Cookie Monsters obviously own Dreadnought these days.
And you know how much us two love the Chomp-A-Lot team. So.
Oh, I love the Chomp-A-Lot team. They're fantastic.
Actually, the shell. I look at a picture of them with Chomp-A-Lot. It still has all the scratches and the cuts from when it was in Series 4.
Which I do like. I do like the fact that they've kept kept it authentic and.
In fairness, I probably would as well if I got the shell. But I think it's also one of those things like, while in Series 1 and 2 I never really minded Dreadnought, because actually both times in Series 1 and 2 they did kind of lose quite unluckily. Like in Series 1, all the electronics decided to set on fire. And in Series 2, they knocked their own mover link out while putting the shell on.
And seriously, they blew up.
Yeah, and it's like in Series 3, I think that was the first series they finally got a chance to actually do anything, and then I realised they can't really do much.
Yeah, it was never going to be competitive, but that's just how it was. It was a robot of its time. I think its time was Series 1. I think had it worked in Series 1, it could have done a lot better. But that's just how it goes sometimes.
I think Series 2 was the last series they were probably closely viable in, and in Series 3, I mean, they probably would have lost to Mortis, but you never know. Yeah. It's all things in the past. And then the one I would say I was disappointed about. It wasn't. I was teasing you. It was not Dreadnought. It was, of course, Gravedigger. Oh.
Now, do you think? I'm going to ask you now. Do you think Gravedigger would have won the heat had their flipper worked?
I think they would have had a good chance at least a heat final, because
I think Thermidor 2 would have won this heat regardless.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would have won the heat. I think it might be in the heat final of Dreadnought. No, sorry. Gravedigger and Thermidor 2 in the final.
I think they would have. I think Kronik would have lost in round 1.
Yeah, because they got onto Kronik multiple times, and they could have easily flipped him. Kronik would not be able to self-right, so I think they probably would have won that. But of course, the one time you need your weapon to work, it didn't, and it's a shame because, as I said in the preview for the last review, the Series 3 version was definitely not bad, but it definitely suffered from being a bit slow and not having the wedge, because sometimes it never got under robots properly, and it had to be very lucky to get under on some robots. But in Series 4 and Series 4, obviously Series 5 as well, but Series 4, jumping from Series 3, it definitely improved a lot more. The wedge is lower.
It was a big improvement, and as well as they had the rear flipper as well. It looks fantastic. The artwork on it looks amazing. I said this last time, but it really does. It pops a lot more than Gravedigger Mark 1.
Yeah, Gravedigger
But
Mark 1 was just brown. That's basically all
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, but it was meant to be a coffin. I get the idea, but obviously it just looks so much better. And I think, obviously sometimes you have to be unlucky. Obviously, seed number 13. So
I would say this probably was the unluckiest seed. Maybe paired with Evil Weevil. Yeah.
Yeah, then Evil Weevil.
I think Evil Weevil's probably less sad because again it was more their fault rather than the robot just not working.
Yeah,
randomly.
but it happened to Jellyfish in series 9. They didn't have their batteries charged.
Yeah,
it can happen.
It's one of those things.
Might have been a charge of failure, who knows? But yeah, Gravedigger was a bit unfortunate. And then obviously the last robot was Warhog.
Yep, Warhog was certainly a thing.
I think again, had it had a bit more like ability to take hits. Like obviously, it kind of destroyed itself, didn't it? But I think had it had the ability to survive that, could it have won the heat?
I don't think it might have won the hit. I mean, it was definitely the only robot bar Hypnodisc that actually managed to do damage to a robot. I mean, it almost took off Dreadnought's forks and did a nice chunk out of the back of Dark Destroyer 2 on its wedge. So
yeah, I think it could have won the heat. I think it would have beaten.
It would have beaten Thermidor 2 potentially if they hadn't been flipped over or something.
If it had got the wheels straight away, then yeah,
easily. They could have beaten Kronik pretty easily.
Yeah,
because it's just mostly plastic. It's mostly plastic, so. And yeah, they really could have, but it's just again in Series 5 the weapon didn't work, so we ended up with a really bad battle against Napalm. And then
in Series 6, that was probably the most funny fight in the history of Robot Wars. Just kind of got carried around by Smithy the whole fight.
That was pretty hilarious. But it's kind of such a shame really that I guess Warhog wasn't able to take the hits. But I guess that's the risk when it comes, especially with full body spinners. There's always a massive risk.
If you build a spinner, it has to be able to take the shocks, and obviously back in these days they didn't really know that.
Yeah.
Because obviously the weapons weren't. The mass and the speed weren't. Obviously the mass of Warhog was very significant, but like say Hypno Disc in the early series, it could dish out all these hits because the disc didn't spin fast enough and the disc didn't weigh enough to cause it itself problems. Whereas, as you'll notice as the series goes on, Hypno Disc in Series 6 and in the Extreme 2, they knock themselves out all the time because they just didn't have the shock mounting in place.
Yeah, and also it's also a difference between full body spinners and spinners that are like Hypnodisc that are just kind of mounted at the front. And in general, it's a lot harder to make a full body spinner more resilient than a regular spinner. I mean, look at Mr. Speed Squared in Series 8 and 9 as well. They had this, although it wasn't as bad as Warhog, they still had problems with their weapon not working after the first battle. And it's just the kind of thing you've got. It's that risk you got to take. Do you want to do more damage and not survive as much, or?
Yeah, it's all a balance, but obviously back in these days they weren't really aware of how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first full body spinner to ever enter, really. So it was kind of, in some ways, it was revolutionary in some ways, but then obviously you get robots later on.
It was quite literally revolutionary.
I didn't think I made that pun there. There we go. Yeah, so that's all the robots. We'll get to the battles then. The first battle, which it's very echoing the last heat, where the three best robots were in the first. Well, these three of the better robots.
Arguably Warhog, but yeah.
Yeah,
you are right. And I think again, had Gravedigger worked, I think it would have been easily going through with Thermidor.
Yeah, Kronik would have been the weaker link out of the three because Gravedigger's.
But it put up a good performance, and it was still aggressive and using its wedge and driving well. But in the end, Kronik got underneath and did the business, didn't they? Really?
Well, yeah, Kronik set it up, and Thermidor took the final hit by managing to get underneath Gravedigger and flipping on its side. And you could tell like pretty quickly that there were a few opportunities where it got onto both Thermidor 2 and Kronik. And the flipper just didn't fire, so maybe like they must have realised, the flipper's not working at this point, and then just took advantage of it and got hold of it and then kind of like a kind of joint attack and then took out the seed. So it's just it's a shame. It's a shame, but at the end of the day, things can happen. Things like these happen. You can't this is how Robot Wars works. So things happen without knowing why they happen. The weapon didn't fire.
Yeah, but again, it happens and. It's the way it is.
But up until that point, though, it was a very good battle, though. It was like all three robots were actually constantly in the fight. There wasn't one robot just driving away and not doing anything. Yep. I know. And it was actually a close battle and just ends up with one robot just not working with its weapon. So,
Mhm.
again, it was unlucky 13 for a reason, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the next battle, obviously it's Warhog, Dreadnought XB1, and Dark Destroyer 2, and
Warhog blowing itself up.
yeah, in fairness, I think Warhog broke down a lot quicker than because obviously when it was like attacked by the House robots, it was already broken like about a minute ago. But I think robots just kept running into it, like it was already broken. I think it was already broken down when Dreadnought hit it, like the second time when the forks fell off.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously it was still spinning, obviously at that point, but they were dead meat pretty early on. I think the first hit really kind of scuppered them, which again shouldn't really be surprising considering it's an early full body spinner. But Warhog had so much potential and just didn't ever show it. It's sort of it reminds me of sort of Sabretooth in the early series. Like it had so much potential, but it never got a chance to show it because it either broke down obviously in Series 6 it broke down in the qualifiers, or in Series 7 it was considered too dangerous for the arena, which is fair enough. And obviously in Series 8, I think we can all agree that Sabretooth looked really cool, but never had a chance to do anything.
Especially against Eruption.
Well, if you don't have a Shreemech, then you're screwed, aren't you?
Yeah, actually,
that's just the way it is.
Also, I would say Warhog gets the award for the first time. I guess I even though it's technically the robot that did it first, I kind of associate more with another robot. I like to call it did a supernova, where it spun itself. It hit something and went flying off somewhere else. It's the first robot to do that, which is it's not as impressive as supernova, where it's just like this tiny little robot going flying all over the place and then dry O-rings the pit, but. I mean, if you look at the picture of Dreadnought after it got hit, I mean, the forks are almost falling off. And it's just,
the forks get ripped off, don't they?
Yeah, and it's probably the reason why it didn't do well in the next battle, because it didn't really move well, even when it was against Thermidor.
Yeah.
And Dark Destroyer pretty much did nothing. It just drove around the arena.
More or less, I mean,
I mean, it got hit once by Warhog, and actually did a decent amount of damage to them as well. But obviously it was just a wedge, it didn't really affect them as badly. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if Warhog was still working, Dreadnought definitely would have been the one going out at that point. So they were limping at the end of that battle.
Either Dreadnought or I think Dark Destroyer was. I mean, it was working, but barely. It was all twisted, so who knows? But as it is, Warhog died, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And obviously the first of the two side events, we have the Sumo, and it was
Pinball.
Pinball. Sorry, and we have Bigger Brother coming in for the Pinball, and actually. Even though it didn't it's come second currently on the at the moment on the Pinball tournament. It was a relatively smooth run for the most part. It was consistent. Mm-hmm. It managed to get some of the targets. It got for the door. It got the multi-ball. It actually didn't, unlike Attila Drum last hit, it didn't actually just fly around and do nothing. It went for targets, and in the end it managed to get 180 points, which is respectable.
Which was and I think again it's showcasing Ian Watt's great driving and the control of. Bigger Brother, which has always been very, very good. Obviously, Ian Watts these days makes a lot of the speed controllers for the teams that compete in Robot Wars, Watties.
Yeah, obviously that was a future Orte, and then but did you do the Swarm as well? Was that them, or was that a different team that did the Swarm? Because I know those BattleBots.
Creepy Crawlers. That was it.
Oh, Creepy Crawlers. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're called something else later. They're called They go by different names, but. Yeah, this is. I mean, 180 points is pretty respectable. I mean, obviously it's not going to win the tournament, but you can say at least you got over like 150 points, which is,
Yeah.
It was definitely they did well for what they had.
Yeah.
And then that obviously goes to the battles. The first one was Kronik the Wedgehog versus Dark Destroyer 2.
Kronik flipped Dark Destroyer at the end.
Nothing really else happened. It was a bit of it wanted like a few bumps, and then flipped him over. And I was actually very impressed with how Kronik flipped him over, because I thought to myself. When I saw Kronik, I thought his flipper's okay, but maybe it's not that powerful. And Dark Destroyer's quite a big, bulky robot, but no, they tipped him right over. And
lifted it straight over, and PTO.
Yeah, once again PTO, please. We're not going to turn you over again.
Yep.
And it must be quite annoying that the Dark Destroyer built this like massive, bulky robot, and they still managed to get flipped over again.
There's really wide side points, and it just didn't happen.
No, it's weird because it looks like a robot. It would be hard to flip over, but
yeah, because it's so wide. But it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it happens. So there wasn't much else to that battle, really. Let's face it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And actually,
same with the next one, really, because obviously
Dreadnought didn't really move at all.
Gets flipped, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that Dreadnought was suffering from the last battle, because it just like turned really slowly, and that was all it did in the entire battle. Because then one flip, it almost flipped it over, and then second flip, Thermidor was flipped it entirely over.
Yeah,
Actually,
nearly got out of the arena.
quite a violent flip as well. You can see the bottom shaking of Dreadnought as it flipped over. And
Yep.
as I said before, because of the way it was, Dreadnought wasn't as up to date with its building materials. It was the only robot I think Matilda ever managed to do some proper damage to in this series with the chainsaw.
With the chainsaw.
Went right through the tire and right through the shell and the wooden base. I mean, what do you expect really with that kind of material?
It happens.
It does, but yeah, that was quite an easy fight for Thermidor. Let's face it. I mean, who else was going to win that unless Thermidor randomly broke down? It was a very easy victory for them. And then we get to the sumo. Actually, in both sumo events, we actually had a really good one. We'll save the more impressive one. I guess we'll start with the Behemoth, I guess, because they did an exterminator and just held their ground for the full minute.
Yeah, they didn't have the. I think they could have. They didn't pin Shunt to the floor like Exterminator did.
No, they just kind of lifted Shunt up, didn't they, and then just held them.
No, they kind of like. I think they were just evenly talked, and they just couldn't do anything. They just kind of matched each other for power, and that was it. They were just stuck.
It's kind of appropriate because both these two robots are kind of like bulldozers, and it does show how powerful Behemoth can be when it just holds its ground and not able to move anywhere.
Yeah, obviously in future series it got a lot more powerful. But...
Yeah, and its speed got better as well, obviously.
Yep.
And then of course we have the only robot to actually technically defeat a house robot in the Series 4 Sumo.
How lucky were Panic Attack?
By less than a second they beat them. I mean, it's obviously it seems like Panic Attack has this natural rivalry with Shunt because in Series 2 they beat them. Yep. And then in the Series 4 Sumo, Shunt almost got them off at one time. Kim James managed to thankfully save it.
Yeah, he just missed it, and then Shunt went to push Panic Attack off and he just missed.
Yeah, and just because Shunt fell, hit the floor slightly before Panic Attack did.
And therefore it lost.
Yeah, and they were the only robot to actually defeat Shunt in the Series 4.
Spoilers: Panic Attack wins.
Yeah, it's not a big surprise. Let's face it. But I mean, and actually, we've actually had the two best. We've already had Exterminator and Behemoth now, so no one else actually managed to last a full minute as well. Yep. So everyone else. I mean, there are some other ones that do okay along the way, but these three are the top three guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Panic Attack's one of those robots that really is sort of. Somehow is always really good at the sumo because Kim Davis is driving.
Well, Kim Davis is, obviously a fantastic driver. So
let's just say if Panic Attack was in Series 3, it would not have ended this way. No, it would just spun around and fallen off. And then we get to the Heat Final, which is obviously Kronik the Hedgehog against Thermidor 2. And
it was a close fight. I think probably Kronik was a bit on top. It was pushing back on Thermidor 2, had the control aggression, and I think in the end it just died, didn't it? Kronik, it just kind of gave up. Obviously, Thermidor, broke its face with his own face.
Yeah, the turning point of the battle was when the wedge just exploded and fell off Kronik.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was still attached though. Did you see it? It's still attached to the pneumatics.
Yeah, it was just hanging on by like wires and stuff, and the pipes and stuff, and then. Because at the beginning, Kronik was definitely the one that was winning. Even though Thermidor managed to pierce through this flipper, it still didn't stop it. And then after the flipper exploded, it just
kind of ground down, didn't it?
Yeah, it just kind of stopped, it was a shame actually. Because if it went to the judges, if their flipper hadn't fallen off, I think they would have won that one probably.
Yep.
But it was definitely worthy.
But unfortunately, Kronik was not fast enough. Didn't go fast.
Yeah, and actually one of the examples of a heat where neither of the seeds made it to the heat final.
Yep, only happened a few times. So.
It also happened in Evil Weevil's heat, and
I think that was it, wasn't it?
There was one more. I'm trying to remember what the other one was. I can't remember. I'm sure.
No, I think every other one they had. Darwin Kilohertz's heat.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, there was one. I knew there was one more. But yeah, it was quite a bad heat for seeds.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, Thermidor just managed to outlive Kronik, I guess, even though it's a shame because Kronik were winning.
Yeah,
but
Kronik were on top, but it is what it is.
And then from then on in, Kronik becomes that classic wedge design, which is much more closer to Apollo. And Thermidor remains unlucky.
It is what it is, but there you go. That's how it goes sometimes.
So, actually, out of 10, what would you give Heat G then?
6 or 7 again. Wasn't amazing, but it was a heat.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is where I start thinking whether the mid-series kind of like decline happens in the series 4. Like, the beginning's really great, the end's pretty cool, especially the semi-finals and the grand final, but the between bit... I mean, there are exceptions, like there is... Like, for example, Heat H is definitely an exception, because there was a lot of things that happened in this heat, and even some controversial ones that weren't actually controversial, but whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll quickly go over the robots. First we have the 15th seed's Wheelie Big Cheese.
Really Big Cheese is pretty special. Pretty special indeed. I think, obviously, we'll get to it eventually, but I don't think it was this series, but they didn't run off CO2, they ran off nitrogen.
Yeah. I will say I definitely preferred the Big Cheese over Wheelie Big Cheese.
I prefer Wheelie.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it was just because I think the one thing I think particularly because it was just the reliability of Wheelie Big Cheese. Sometimes like it's I think on a lot of the occasions it needs to rely on that one big flip.
But when it had that one big flip, it was so spectacular. Obviously, I honestly, obviously, everyone talks about Axel being flipped to Narnia.
So Dominator 2.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one for me where I'm just like, wow! Like Dominator 2 was a big robot. I mean, I know Axel was big as well, but Dominator 2 was like a very awkward shape to flip, and it just flipped it to the roof. It really hit the roof. It was incredible. Imagine both robots had a big problem with in Series 4 and 5 with like maneuverability sometimes, like particularly against something like Tornado, which was more maneuverable. It was usually outclassed. It was. I mean, let's face it. It had custom wheels, and obviously it didn't have tires. It had golf studs to press into the wooden floor.
And as proven by Series 4, the wheel design was not the most sturdy.
It didn't have the best grip in the world. No, it probably would have been better off with big tires. But
plus, also having hollow wheels isn't really something you want in
robot
wheels
either. But as well as that, hollow wheels wouldn't be a problem. But I think as well as that, as I said, the grip might have been a problem. It might have been the thing that, if it had too much grip, the flipper wouldn't have worked in the correct way.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do like Wheelie Big Cheese though. I mean,
it was a very interesting design.
It's definitely one of the most out there designs, and also it's really well engineered as well.
And of course, you know who owns Wheelie Big Cheese these days, don't you?
You might have told me, but I think I've forgotten.
It is Glitter Bomb.
Oh, Glitter Bomb, that was it. I knew you mentioned it.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know which version. I think it's the Series 5 version that they own. I'm not sure though.
The most up-to-date version.
I believe so.
I mean, obviously this is Roger Plant, so all these machines are well engineered nonetheless. So, I mean, it's just a great robot. Even if it's while it does rely on like that big flip, when the big flip happens, it is spectacular. It's always a spectacle robot nonetheless. Then also the runner-up actually, when 2 seeds made it to the heat final, which doesn't happen too often in Series 4. The lowest seed, Seed 32, Suicidal Tendencies.
See, again, it said Seed 32 in the heat, but in the Northern Annihilator, they say Seed 31. I think this was meant to be Seed 31.
Well, let's face it, it should have been higher than Stinger.
It should have been, but I think this was meant to be Seed 31, and they just made a mistake.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it was meant to be 32. It was meant to be Centurion, but it's either way. It's in this heat. I like Suicidal Tendencies in this series. Like, this is my favorite version.
Yeah, I do like this one more mainly because it actually had. I like the axe and the flipper combo. Like even though a lot of people dismissed it as like a toothpick, it was good at like kind of grabbing onto robots, like Exterminator in Series 3.
It was surprisingly powerful for what it was, And I think the lifting forks, obviously, I think worked very well for it. Obviously, when it gets flipped, it was kind of
useless, but
but at the same time, it still had the good driving power that it had. I think it was probably the most at the time. It was certainly the most powerful track robot there was.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of, you mentioned Centurion before. They actually originally were supposed. Those robots were originally supposed to be in the different heats, like in their own heats. Like Suicide Tendencies was supposed to be in Centurion's heat, and Centurion was supposed to be in this heat, but they were swapped around for some reason.
I think that's why they made a mistake with the seeding. I think it was meant to be 32 was meant to be Centurion, so it was with kilohertz.
Yeah, I
believe that's what it was.
It make more sense that Centurion was set at 32, but I think actually when I remember it, I often misremember that Centurion is 31. But
again, they made the mistake in the Northern Alliance saying seed number 31, suicidal tendencies. They made it. I genuinely think they made a mistake, but that's
yeah,
by the by.
probably. But I do like this version. So it's much better than the Series 3 one, which just had that drum that didn't really do anything the entire time.
Yep.
But I mean, the Series 5 version is just like it's basically a massive crusher on it, and they got very lucky.
I like it, but it isn't it for me.
They got very lucky in Series 5 having to withdraw and let Rick come in instead.
Oh, Rick.
I mean, I don't think they would have beaten Razor, but it's still a shame that they couldn't.
No.
It's just a shame. Just a shame they had to withdraw, really.
Yep.
And then obviously we have two fossils. Using Pokemon terms here, the fossils. The first is Killatron, with a giant. Basically, it's got a massive.
Series 1 version of Killatron's back. Yay!
Yeah, but it's got little side bits on it. It's got the axe has got loads of tape around it or something around it, and it's got a massive
scoop.
And a scoop, and which it lasted as long as you expected.
In fairness, I'm glad they made it through over Maverick.
Oh yeah, I'm glad Maverick out of the two got out, but let's face it, against Really Big Cheese. I mean, this robot has such high ground clearance, even Roadblock can take it out. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just a black. It's like there's. I don't think was it ever explained why they didn't appear in Series 3? Why they didn't go for it?
No, I don't know.
Maybe they're just busy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's kind of you can tell they didn't really improve on it from Series 2 at all, and just came in and thought, well, we'll use the same robot. And while I like the look of Killatron, it's not. It's definitely outdated. It was outdated. Yeah. It was outdated in Series 3. So. Yeah. And another blast from the past was Wheelosaurus, and I have to say I absolutely love Peter Gibson for bringing this thing back.
Wheelosaurus was amazing, and I love how it had a little garden strimmer on the front, and I think they were very lucky and unlucky to go through in round 1. I think it was a case of they should have been going out there, but hey, you know what? Sometimes you get lucky and prize fighter gets eliminated.
I mean, obviously, it's kind of weird to see it because you see like them compared to Stinger, because they were technically the first Axel bot ever, and then you see Stinger now, and it's
in the UK. I mean, obviously there was other ones in.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm only usually referring to UK when I'm mentioning these kind of things. But I have a massive soft spot for Wheelosaurus because again, it was actually in the first heat I ever saw, Mace's heat. So I love it, but let's face it, it was again. I mean, it didn't even move in its second battle, so
it was bossed.
Although I do love the addition of the random light on it for some reason, which made it harder to become an Axel bot, oddly enough. It actually hindered it a little bit.
That it did.
Which I find a bit ironic, but whatever. And then there's Prize Fighter Mark II, which got very unlucky in that first round battle.
So unlucky.
Hey, at least Series 5 they do a lot better.
I think they could have done really well this year. I think they could have been fighting suicidal tendencies and probably beat them.
Yeah, it was a very unlucky because considering I mean the original prize fight wasn't terrible, but this one
it just broke down early on.
Well, actually, no. What happened to well, actually, no, because it's a flip. It's a self-ride mechanism got stuck, and then it broke down afterwards. But I mean, this obviously there's not much difference between prize fight from Series 5 and Series 6 aesthetically wise.
4 and 5.
But yeah, 4 and 5. Yeah, sorry, but I mean, in Series 5, they actually managed to defeat Thermidor too. Very well, I guess sort of luckily, but at the same time they got through, and then they actually had
they were robbed against Wild Thing.
They were, but the way they took out Alien was great though. The Alien.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they were very worthy, and it's actually even more unlucky. In Series 8, they qualified, but had to withdraw after all their electronics set on fire, which is.
But it wasn't the same team. It was the same robot, but it was a different.
Oh yeah, not the same team, but yeah, but it's a massive shame that they couldn't even make it in Series 8, but.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the future they might get working again, give it a try, because I want to see them come back. I like Prize Fighter.
I don't think we'll ever see Prize Fighter in the TV show. I think we might see it on the live circuit, but I don't think.
Yeah, you never know. And then finally we have in my contender for most forgettable robot of Series 4,
Maverick.
It's not as awesome as Rick.
I love its little siren though.
The siren's awesome. I mean, I have a soft spot for their Series 5 version of Rick. I don't know why. I have no idea why I like Rick, but Maverick it's just there. It's just a little flipper thing. I mean, the flipper was so weedy. He couldn't even flip, and he couldn't even like lift Killatron.
I will say, big up to the young lad driving it, because obviously I think he built most of it as well. So big ups to that. That I think he was about 10 years old. What an absolute guy.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I really hope he's hope he does more than he did more in the future with Robot, because he's. I mean, this is a great. I mean, for a first try for a 10-year-old, this is really good.
I mean, for a young lad, he's done a fantastic job. So
Yeah, and also they actually managed at least made a heat final, although albeit reinstated, but they still managed to make it in.
And, I mean, they fought the powerhouse of Robot Wars that is Destructive Bubble.
Actually, it's weird 'cause I just read that was a rematch in Series 5 with Suicide Sentences.
Yep.
But yeah, that's Maverick, I guess. But that was that will be Heat H. That was Heat G. So yeah, I'll be joined by Alex and Stephen for that one.
Lucky
so,
you.
That'll be cool. That'll be cool. So I'm Jim Dramatic signing off.
And I'm so Elliot64, and I won't see you next time, but I'll see you the time after that for Heat I.
You will, with Nate. Yay.
Oh, yay.
Okay, bye.